All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. It's hard to believe, folks, but it's been 25 years since the Arizona Wildcats stepped onto the Final Four stage. Since that loss to Duke back in the 2001 championship game, the Wildcats have gotten to the Elite Eight 5 times, only to be denied of their opportunity to cut down the nets at the regional each time. And it has usually come in heartbreaking fashion. You go back to the 2003 West Regional Final, where Arizona was the top seed and they lost to Kansas. And in spite of the fact that they had went to Lawrence and beaten the Jayhawks earlier that season, the blown 15-point lead to Illinois in the second half against Illinois in the 2005 Midwest Regional Final. You go back to the Cinderella Cats of 2011, led by Derek Williams, and they got to the Elite Eight and at Anaheim in the West, and they lost to Kemba Walker and that UConn squad that went on to win the national championship. Consecutive losses in the West Regional to Wisconsin. They just keep piling up, and I know that the current administration wasn't there for that, but nonetheless, if you're an Arizona fan, you know this heartbreak oh too well. Now, for Tommy Lloyd, the current U of A basketball coach, he's in his fifth season there. And after having initial success in Tucson with the Wildcats when they were in the Pac 12, he has overseen a flawless transition for this program as they have gone to the Big 12. We saw Arizona go 24-13 last year, 14-6 in league play. This time around, so far, they're 25-2 and they're 12-2 in league play. And of course, they began this season by winning their first 23 games of the season. So, with that said, do these Wildcats, because Tommy Lloyd has gotten them to the NCAA tournament each season that he's been in Tucson, they just have not been able to break past the Sweet 16 round. Of course, they've gotten there 3 times. They were upset in 2003. They were a 2 seed out west and they lost to Stanford, Princeton, excuse me. But nonetheless, you got to wonder, is this going to be the year where they break through and get to the Final Four? They're 25-2, like I said, and their resume this season is right up there with anybody, any of the top teams in the nation. They began this season by knocking off the defending national champion Florida Gators. They also, back in November, went to Stores and knocked off UConn. And that's important because not a lot of people can go to Stores and knock off the Huskies. On top of that, prior to Florida winning last year, we're talking about Connecticut winning the national championship in both 2023 and 2024. So now you've basically knocked off the last 2 national champs this season if you are Arizona. They've also got wins over San Diego State, one of the top teams in the Mountain West. They also beat Alabama, another team from the SEC that's more than likely going to get to the NCAA tournament. And of course, they swept the season series from BYU. Like I said, they ran off 23 straight games, straight wins to begin this season. You knew that they were going to be bound to taste defeat at some point in the rugged Big 12. That came 2 weeks ago when they went on the road to Lawrence and they fell to the Jayhawks. And then, of course, last Saturday night at home against a very good Texas Tech team that we saw the Wildcats fall in that one in overtime. But sometimes you got to fall to get back up. And of course, we've seen Arizona respond. They responded at home this past Wednesday with the win over BYU. And then, of course, yesterday, going on the road and knocking off the Houston Cougars. And that was big for this Arizona club because first place in the Big 12 was on the line. On top of that, we're talking about a Houston team under head coach Kelvin Sampson that was in the championship game last year when they lost to Florida. So another good W on this resume for the Arizona Wildcats. So you look at it, the Cats, they've got 4 games left in the regular season, 2 games on the road at Baylor and Colorado, and it's sandwiched in between 2 home games, first with Kansas, the rematch, and then Iowa State as well. So Arizona's in the catbird seat to try to go out there and win the regular season championship in the Big 12. And of course, if they can continue to take care of their business in the Big 12 and possibly win the Big 12 tournament, we are talking about a team that is definitely going to be a one seed in this NCAA tournament. And if they are a one seed as of right now, all signs point to them being in the West Regional. Now, of course, the West Regional this year is in San Jose, not Anaheim or Los Angeles. And of course, I bring that up because historically, both Anaheim and LA have given the Wildcats problems for whatever reasons since this Final Four drought has been in effect. You go back to '94 when Arizona got to the Final Four that year. They won the West Regional at the Sports Center in LA when they knocked off Missouri. But nonetheless, first two rounds, we could possibly see Arizona in either Portland or San Diego. Definitely a travel advantage for them, but they still got to go out there and take care of their business on the basketball court. They've got the talent. Of course, you want to get healthy. At some point, they're hopeful to get a Koa Pete back in this front court. He was the second leading scorer going prior to going down with that injury. You've got two good guards in that starting lineup because all five of your starters are averaging double figures. Brandon Berries and of course Jaden Bradley. And then you look at that front court with the likes of Mateus Krivas as well as Ivan Karchikov, excuse me. And it's one of those where this is a very talented team. Tommy Lloyd continues to have talented teams at Arizona. He's got to find a way to a breakthrough in the NCAA tournament. Hopefully, for his sake, this is the year, and he could put some of those disappointing tournament losses behind him. The Final Four this year, folks, of course, it's in Indianapolis. And if you are a fan of Arizona basketball, and if you are a historian of Arizona basketball, you know what happened the last time that the Wildcats got to the Final Four, and the Final Four was in that city. So you look at this Arizona team and you ask yourself, what are their chances to finally be the squad that gets through and breaks the streak? Well, there's a possibility. And of course, like I said, if you're Arizona, you're hopeful to get Koa Pete back into this lineup. I definitely think that would enhance their chances. I'll tell you like this, for Arizona to do it and for Tommy Lloyd to do it, they're probably going to have to go through some tough teams, regardless if they play in the West or are regional or not. And I think all signs at this point do point to them playing in the West. But nonetheless, you think about some of those deep teams from the Big Ten Conference. You're probably going to possibly have to go through one of them, or maybe an SEC squad to break through and get to the Final Four. This Arizona team, like I said, they're battle tested. They began this season with a statement, like I said, going back to the Florida win, going on the road and knocking off UConn, excuse me, beating so many quality teams out of so many quality conferences along the way. The Big 12 is one of the best leagues for basketball in the nation. And it's one of those Arizona has shown not only that they can hang, but they can set the pace since they have joined that league. So again, everything is there for the taking for Arizona. They just got to find a way to continue to do what they have been doing so far this season. But I'll tell you like this is probably, in my opinion, Arizona's best chance to get to the Final Four, probably since the 2014 squad that lost at the regional to Wisconsin. Of course, that great team led by Frank Kaminsky. And of course, that Arizona team had Aaron Gordon leading the way for them. But nonetheless, we're almost, about to turn the calendars to the month of March. Arizona, for the most part, has answered all of the tests so far. Very interested to see how they look in that rematch coming up with Kansas. Kansas, Kansas, when they're on their game, they could beat anybody in the country. And then, of course, you could see Kansas put down some duds as well. But nonetheless, I think, they got some more tests on their slate with Kansas and Iowa State before they get into Big 12 tournament play. And then, of course, it's on to the NCAA tournament. Like I said, the ball is in their court. They have everything in place to make a deep run. Will things come together for Tommy Lloyd and company? And will he make the right moves to get them to the Final Four? We've just got to wait and see. But, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank each and every one of you for checking out the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. And as always, if you like what you heard and saw in this podcast, you know what to do. Just hit that like button as well as subscribing to this channel. And like I always say, it's greatly appreciated. Also, if you are on the X, formerly known as Twitter, you can check me out anytime at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you give me that follow, it will be my pleasure to do the same in return. And that also goes for Instagram, where you can check me out at 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge. Also, if you're on Facebook, definitely be sure to check out the Sports Depot 365. And as far as I'm concerned, one of the better sports groups going on social media. But until next time, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I am signing off, and I'm saying thanks once again for checking out the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. Be well, everybody.